All right, here we go. Fresh, brand new series. Hopefully, this player here in the top left-hand corner of Romanticide LE has taken a moment to breathe. He was in a very intense best of 5 PvZ that went all the way to the ace match, so hopefully he's been able to recover from that. Hopefully he's not too affected by that, and we are diving into game number 1 of this PvT. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have our Canadian Protoss. He is yellow, representing Alpha X. It is TriGGeR. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Romanticide LE, we have the American Terran. He is green, representing himself and ducks everywhere. It is Dolan. Oh boy. So no more Zerg players for the day. Congratulations, Jon Snow, on qualifying. Really well played. Jon Snow has been a staple of the NA scene for many, many years. So he shows us all that he still got it. Really well done there. Meanwhile, now we have these two players who are looking for their second chance. Both of these players fell in the upper bracket, and now they have another chance here in the lower bracket. We'll see if they are able, which one of these players is able to come out victorious. As pretty interesting decision here by Dolan. Dolan skips his Reaper, going straight for a Marine. Oh my god, no! Oh, almost uses an SCV. But the Marine does come out. So we have seen this a couple of times, where the Terran player, they do forego scouting information early on, instead going for a little bit more of a secure defense, and again, just going into Marines a little bit faster, getting that bio army a little bit faster. Of course, again, there are pros and cons to it, right? Like, if your opponent was doing something crazy, then it could be difficult to scout. Regardless, Dolan did go for an SCV scout, so he sees everything is at home, all the pylons are at home, there's no shenanigans going on, so Dolan feels relatively safe. And oh my god! Oh my god, he's a madman! He's lost his mind! Dolan! Hey, he's not just a duck, he's a quack. He's going for a very fast 30C. Not even before starport, it's after the first racks. Jesus, he is being so greedy right now. And a second racks. Oh my god. Now, is he dead? Maybe. Because right now TriGGeR is doing a very good job at microing with his Stalker. The Marines are falling. 2 Reapers just barely come out, and these 2 Reapers are going to do a good job microing against the Stalker. So what I mean by is this man dead? So TriGGeR is going for Blink Stalkers. Very, very solid tech choice here from TriGGeR. You can be aggressive and defensive with this. Eventually, he's going to have an amount of Blink Stalkers and go across the map. He can micro well against Bio. And what is scary is that if you are not set up with tanks defensively at home, you know, like a tank on the low ground, a tank on the high ground, Marines, bunkers, Blink Stalkers can just ruin your day. Can absolutely ruin your day. Thankfully for Dolan, TriGGeR is expanding and he isn't being too aggressive. You know, we do have a Robo on the way, which I imagine is going to come out with a War Prism, so TriGGeR will be active across the map. I just worry for Dolan's defense with his lack of tanks. He's going for 3 Vaxes, by the way. He's just going for mass bio. Stim and +1. I guess he's going to try and hit a Stim and +1 timing. Obviously, this isn't all in by any means because he does have this 30C, continuing to pump out SCVs and eventually land for a 3rd base. But yeah, we'll see how these 2 styles clash against each other. Blink Stalkers against 3 Vax. Very interested to see how this plays out. Meanwhile, TriGGeR doesn't go for a War Prism, instead he does go for an Observer. Well, I have to wonder if Dolan is playing the player right now. Like, there are plenty of Protoss players like Pili, like Nina, who are very aggressive, and as soon as they like see a weakness in their opponents, or you know, they test the waters and they're active with their stalkers and they're outside of the bases and they're doing whatever they can to contain their opponent and then blink into the main. TriGGeR, he's focusing on his defenses for now at least, and yeah, we'll see. I'm just worried that TriGGeR is going to let Dolan get away with this. And he shouldn't, but he may. Finally, the observer is getting across the map, and TriGGeR is going to finally get an eye on the army. He's going to see all these Marines and Marauders. He's going to be like, oh, I could have done something. That he doesn't even see. He's here just to scout for a push out. Oh my god. TriGGeR, please. Scout puppy. As TriGGeR, he's getting more gateways. It looks like he wants to go towards, there we go, Colossus. I was gonna say Colossus or Disruptor. We see it is Colossus. Extended Thermal Lance is on the way, so he is still going for a very strong, like, overall composition, but he isn't being aggressive. You know, he was just being safe with his blink, which is understandable, but it means that Dolan, yo, he's got his third up, right? He's saturating. He's getting away with this. He's got plenty of bio. He's throwing down 2 more Raxes. He's a madman. Yo, is he gonna go Widowmine? I just realized he has not made a single tank this game, and he's not making tanks. He's foregoing that kind of style, that bio tank style, completely, going straight into these factories. He's going for these 2 medevacs. The medevacs will come out. Once they do, he can start to go for some drops. Factory finishing up, and I imagine with this reactor, he's gonna be going for Widowmines. Oh my. Yeah, here we go. Widowmines are on the way, may even be looking to go for some Widowmine drops or just incorporate them with his main army. Meanwhile, TriGGeR himself has also been macroing up. So the real question is, if you leave a Protoss and if you leave a Terran alone, who comes out on top? Because they have been unmolested this entire game. They have been allowed to just play out their game that they want to. They're being as greedy as possible. TriGGeR working on his 4th base. Dolan still just working on his upgrades, working on his production. They've both been left alone. Who is scarier? I have to say Protoss, but because of the opener, maybe it's Terran? It's hard to say. I feel like in general, you know, you don't want to leave a Protoss player alone. And that is why Dolan is now going across the map with this Widowmine drop. It does make a lot of sense. Looking to finally deal some damage, hinder the economy of TriGGeR in some way. Armory is about to finish up, so that means detection will be required to deal with these Widowmines. Is it lined up perfectly yet? Not quite. But you know, it is going to finish up in a couple of seconds, so yo, it is actually lined up. Wow. Armory finishes up now. And now here comes the Widowmines. Ooh, nice reaction by TriGGeR, does pull the boys away. Meanwhile, another Widowmine going into the main base. But there is a cannon. The Widowmine will be dealt with. This Widowmine here, though, did get 3 probes. So 4 in total. At the same time, Dolan trying to be a little bit aggressive with his medevac. Scans, sees 3 Colossus. He's like, nope, I want none of that. And yeah, Dolan, he's just making Vikings. This is a surprisingly passive PvT. And I worry for Dolan, you know, like here we go, TriGGeR, he's got his charge lot, he's got his charge lot Archon, he's got his Colossus, he's got his Stalkers, Disruptors are on the way, +2 is on the way. And what does Dolan have? He has Marine Marauder. He is working on Vikings at least to help deal with the Colossus. Like the Vikings, you know, they're definitely worth it. He is taking up. Ghosts are on the way for their EMPs. We have enhanced shockwaves on the way as well. There's a nice missile turret ring here just in case a War Prism sneaks into his main base. So it's going to be all about the disruptor shots, and it's going to be all about the EMPs. And I guess positioning. Oh my god, we see a double scan. Dolan, obviously he saw earlier the 4th base. He confirms, hey, there's no 5th, and I've got my own 4th. We're just expanding, we're turtling, we got sensor towers. We have a bit of a Zealot run by. Nice SimCity, nice bunker, does force the Zealots away. Nicely done there by Dolan. Meanwhile, TriGGeR is looking to try and push into this army. He does go within sensor tower range. Dolan is well aware of where the army is. It looks like he's trying to try and outposition it. Disruptor shot goes off. Does miss. Oh my god, Disruptor, no! The Disruptor gets picked off for free. Ay, ay, ay. And TriGGeR takes a 5th. Let's go. That Zealot run by does go in. Ooh, this War Prism will be sniped by the missile turrets. The Zealot's not going to find any damage. One Zealot somehow runs all the way into the main base. And will it actually get some SCV? Never mind. We'll get a missile turret. It's being annoying. SCVs are actually pulled to kill the Zealot. Oh my god, okay, to repair. And now the army moves out. Dolan is maxed out. TriGGeR needs a little bit more time. But again, TriGGeR, hey, there's so much potential with these. Oh god. With these disruptors. Yo, the Vikings are ham. One Colossus falls, the second Colossus falls. Only one Colossus left, and it's gonna go down. Meanwhile, the disruptor shots have not been landing, and the EMPs did land. Oh my god, the Archons immediately get focused down. Things are just falling apart for TriGGeR. Oh my god, another beautiful EMP. Disruptor shot finally lands on some of the army. Another Purification Nova goes off, but it misses. Oh my god. TriGGeR, these disruptor shots, they're just keeping him alive right now. It's so important that he only sends one out at a time. And TriGGeR just barely holds on. He lost a lot though. Lost every single one of his Colossus. Ooh, and now the Chargers are getting on top of this bio. This bio was so heavily overstimmed. The Liberators do show up, but are they going to be enough? Yo, TriGGeR doesn't even care, which I think he should, to be honest. Like, the Zealots are going to be cleaned up. These Disruptors are kind of exposed, but yo, he wants that base. Never mind, he backs off. This is what I was worried about. Maybe he overextended. He steps forward. He focuses down one of the Disruptors. Almost gets a second. Almost. Meanwhile, Dolan, yo, he's starting to trickle out here. He's starting to run out of army. He needs to be careful. It's a very chaotic engagement. Both players had their moments. I think what's important is that TriGGeR kept the majority of his disruptors alive. He was very conservative with his disruptor shots. He never went for like sending out 4 or 5 disruptor shots at once, like panicking, as we've seen some other Protoss players do in the past. So really nicely done there. Oh, very patient. Meanwhile, that's a lot of Liberators. Oh my god, the disruptor shots go off. They aren't really finding any connections, but they are sending out the army. Oh my god, one very juicy connection there in the heart of the Terran bio. More disruptor shots are going off. Mate, there's barely any bio left, but oh my god, the Liberators are actually dealing a lot of damage. They are able to snipe a couple of these disruptors. TriGGeR, he needs a better answer to these Liberators. Oh my god, every single disruptor, they're getting picked off. There's only one left. Oh my god, 0 left. One just barely pops out, but a lot of supply there was lost for TriGGeR. Essentially getting his disruptor count reset. Oh my god, and again, he just can't handle these Liberators. Like, Stalkers can deal with Liberators in low amounts, but we can see, wait, we have 3 Liberators coming out at a time. TriGGeR needs to switch into Skytoss, maybe get a couple of Tempest out. Regardless, he needs to try and deal with these Liberators because Dolan is just continuing to push on forward. Oh my god. Sharp shot goes off. Decent shot. Oh god, 3-3 is on the way for Dolan. God, 4 Liberators at a time. Let's go mass Liberator, mate. Doesn't even care. Oh my god, the EMPs do land. Oh my god, maybe overextending a little bit there. The Protoss army, yo, he actually bypasses the majority of these Liberators. It does blink backwards. The Zealots do get on top of a lot of these Marauders. The Marauders, they are getting overstimmed. But it looks like they are being able to take down every single one of these Stalkers. No more Disruptors. These Liberators probably could be in a better position, to be honest. There's not enough bio to really continue to press on. He needs to wait to kind of rally his troops a little bit more. Oh my god. Again, so many Liberator shots are going off here. TriGGeR, he abandons his base. He's like, I just can't fight this. And Disruptors, like, they are good, but you need something else. You need another, you need more than just pure Disruptor, mate. And right now, he does not have an answer. Instead, he's expanding towards the south. He is able to evacuate, save the majority of his probes alive. Keep the majority of his probes alive. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Oh, a couple of ghosts do get picked off. But the Liberators, they just leapfrog forward. They're just not stopping for anyone. Oh no! Oh, Dolan looked away at the wrong moment. He was being distracted by the DT run by. Ay, ay, ay. That was a beautiful disruptor shot, destroying the majority of this army. At the same time, the DTs took down the planetary and 28 SCVs. Late game DT harassment, that's all you need. And Dolan is forced all the way back home. TriGGeR finally able to breathe. He was dying. He was straight up slowly dying, being pushed away back towards his third base. But finally he was able to push Dolan away. And does he have an answer to the Liberators? Right now he's still relying on Stalkers. Like, they're okay, but like, there are just so many libs. Like, sure, you can rely on maybe trying to bypass the liberation zones, go around them, find a better angle. But with this many libs... And he sees it, by the way. He sees the Liberators. He knows. Oh my god, the does dodge. Oh, the disruptor goes off. Oh, a couple of free shots on these Stalkers. Oh, ay, ay, ay. You need your anti-air, buddy. Again, he's trying to go around all these liberation zones. He wants to try and find an angle in. Can he find one? Looks like he may have. As he's just diving straight on forward, he does snipe a couple of Liberators. 3 do go down. A bunch of these Liberators needs to be moved forward. As the army is slowly getting zoned out into the corner of the map. Meanwhile, at the same time, we do have more DTs coming across the map. The DT run by is real. Oh my god, all these Liberators get caught out of position. This is a lot of Liberators going down for free. Oh my god, what was that? 8 Liberators? And now there's barely any bio here. Sure, he gets a Nexus, but does it really matter if he doesn't get any workers? Now only 3 Liberators remain. This army is going to be cleaned up. And Dolan, he has no economy. He's done, mate. He has no money. He cannot remax. He's broke. He has 1k gas bank. He has 0 minerals. GG gets called. And TriGGeR weathered the storm. It looked like Dolan was winning the engagements, and he was. I do believe that Dolan was trading more favorably, but he just didn't have any money, mate. The DTs, they won TriGGeR that game. The DT harass was crazy. GG. TriGGeR takes an early lead here, as we are getting ready to jump into game number 2. Oh boy, oh boy. Honestly, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by Dolan. I thought this was going to be a little bit more one-sided, and again, Dolan was fighting well. Very well there. But I do think that because of the map, because of Romanticide, because of how big it is, like, even though Dolan was slowly encroaching on the bases of TriGGeR and slowly taking them out, TriGGeR was just expanding on the other side of the map, and there was no harassment from Dolan. Dolan, he was kind of just focusing every single time, he was focusing his attack on one point, in one area of the map. TriGGeR never had to worry about multi-prong, which is one of the strengths of Terran, right? Going for drops all over the place, going for these attacks, you know, to the south and to the north, trying to pull your opponent apart. It feels like that's one of the strengths of Terran, and yeah, Dolan didn't really go for that, despite going for a very mobile bio army. And TriGGeR was able to do that. He was able to whip out some Zealot run-bys, or more importantly, those DT run-bys that just dealt so much damage to the economy of Dolan. And at the end of the day, he just bled Dolan dry. And here we go. We are diving into game number 2. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Canadian Protoss representing Team Alpha X of 1-0 in this best of 5. It is TriGGeR. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the American Terran. He is green, representing himself and ducks everywhere. It is Dolan. Oh my. So again, a very interesting game number 1, where both players were very economic focused, very passive, and things really kicked off in the later stages of the game, when both players had 4 moving on to 5 bases. But that also lends towards the map that we just saw, the map being Romanticide. It is the largest map in the map pool. So we'll see how things change here in 2000 Atmospheres. I'll be very surprised if we get another passive game like the one that we just had. Passive in the early game, I mean. Meanwhile, we are slowly getting into things. This time, Dolan does not skip his Reaper. He is going for it, does want to make sure that his opponent isn't doing anything crazy. And honestly, I like this. I like this just because, again, you really don't know what your opponent is up to, especially when they are up in the series. They're feeling a little bit more free to do something crazy. Speaking of, TriGGeR is scouting everywhere for proxies. 2 probes out on the map. Just a scout. Mein Gott. And Dolan is doing something cheeky. He walls off completely in his main base, and he is going for a hidden factory. Ooh. And a CC on the high ground. Interesting. Very interesting. So we'll see what he has planned here with this factory. Oh, he's going straight into a starport. It looks like, at least. There it is. Starport does get thrown down. This CC is pretty deep in his main. It looks like he wants to maybe deceive TriGGeR a little bit. Make him think he's going like 1 base all in. Since this adept will show up at the ramp, and he shouldn't be able to see anything. So I quickly check his vision. Yep. He sees nothing. Sees a reactor. Sees Marines. That's kind of it. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, ooh, Reaper does pick off a worker, does pick off a probe. So I quickly check his own vision. He did not get into the main base. He has not seen the Stargate. And TriGGeR opening up with Phoenixes. One of the other more standard openings here for Protoss. You know, you either open up with the Stargate for Phoenixes or with the Twilight Council for Blink Stalkers. And we'll see how many Phoenixes he gets. We have seen Sada go 3 Phoenix openers, or open up with the Stargate and get 6 Phoenixes, and just maintain map control and just shut everything down, dive in, focus down Ravens that your Terran player has, shut down drops. So we'll see if TriGGeR has his Phoenixes in position. Speaking of, immediately Dolan is going across the map with this triple Widowmine drop. Stalkers are at the natural. I believe. Okay, the first couple of Phoenixes go across the map. Ooh, does he suspect? These Phoenixes are not at home. They won't be at home to help deal with the drop once it comes in. I say that, but the Phoenixes are coming back. He did scout the 1-1-1. He could assume that there is a Widowmine drop coming his way. Oh, and the Widowmine does dive in, but the Stalkers react. Oh my god, the probes! Okay, he does pull the probes. Ooh. Decent connections. 5 probes do go down, but at the cost of 3 Widow Mines. What else is important though is that the medevac, it looks like he's attempting to escape. The Phoenixes are trying to hunt him down. Looks like they will just barely miss him, maybe. Oh god, they do turn around, but the medevac does return to the safety of the Vikings, the Cyclone, the Marines. He's safe. And at home, we don't see too much coming up here. There is a robo on the way. I believe the robo was not scouted. As I quickly check, yep, it was not scouted. Oh, we see a scan at the third. Dolan confirms there is no third base, as he's getting a third of his own. Oh, he was getting a third of his own until the CC was taken out by the Phoenixes. We do see a lock-on by this Cyclone, but it looks like the Phoenixes should be able to escape. Oh, waste a scan. Ay, ay, ay. Feels bad, man, for Dolan. And TriGGeR, while eventually going for that expansion, is prioritizing that robotic spay, going for, I imagine, Colossus once again. I imagine. Again, it'd be crazy if he does go for disruptors. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's always a lot of fun. As the Phoenixes just continue to find more damage, a couple of SCVs being picked up here and there. Vikings were out of position. They do come back over. Phoenixes back off. And Dolan once again is going for a very biocentric army. I do like this though. He is switching things up and he actually is making tanks. A completely different style to game number 1. Dolan really showing off his versatility here. I love it. Not going for the exact same style again. He kind of struggled against TriGGeR with it in the past, so I like him going for a more tank-centric army here. We'll see if he has better luck. It is a little bit concerning just because, again, if you go for something like this, you need to babysit your tanks. If you leave them alone for one moment, the Phoenixes are going to dive in and pick them off. And that just takes away the wind out of the wind out of the sails of your turn push. Boys, I qualified. Hey, Paddy Mac. Congratulations, Paddy Mac. Oh my god, I was honestly worried. I didn't know if you were going to compete this season. I know we spoke a couple of months ago and you were talking about how you're focusing on your studies and you haven't been active in weekly tournaments, so I didn't know if you were going to show up, but it's great to see you back, Paddy Mac. It's great to see you back. Congratulations. God, I'll let Yoda know. Again, it's been a while since I've seen you in the chat. Yoda Slim, of course, he also started working full-time as well, so it's been a while since he's casted here on this channel, unfortunately. We do still keep in touch, and he actually does show up in the chat. But yes, for those wondering, who is Paddy Mac? Maybe if you're new to the channel and you've only been watching us this year, Paddy Mac was the TriGGeR of last year. Paddy Mac would play in all the weekly tournaments. He would play in a lot of like the NA Apprentice Cups, Battle of the Americas, and we really showcased Paddy Mac a lot last year. And we were and he was like popping off. He was doing so well. He came out of nowhere. I believe he came from the Halo competitive scene to begin with. I believe Halo, the RTS, not the FPS. And yeah, Paddy Mac really rose to prominence last year, and he qualified for the DreamHack main event in DreamHack Winter and really made a name for himself. And it's great to see him back. Great to see him back. Oh boy. Meanwhile, Dolan is pushing out here. Oh, he gets caught on siege though. Aye. The tanks do get picked up by the Phoenixes. That's what I was concerned about. The Zealots do get on top of the army, but you know what? All the Zealots are getting picked off. Nice focus fire by the tanks on the Colossus. But the Colossus do stand strong. The Phoenixes do CC beautifully those tanks. One of the Colossus does fall as well. Only one Colossus remaining, but all the tanks get cleaned up. Aye. And TriGGeR, mate, he's just got so much momentum going his way. He cleaned up the army, and now he's at the base of Dolan. Dolan was not ready for the engagement whatsoever. He was caught off guard, caught by surprise. Oh my god, the missile turret! The Colossus, please! Oh god. The Colossus almost went down to a missile turret. God damn it, TriGGeR. Oh, no, the Viking! Oh, Ormas! He gets the Colossus. Dolan with the clutch moves. Now you will tell me the secret to beating Skytel's late game is Zerg. If I played any Zerg in the past 2 weeks, maybe I would have an idea. Oh god, I have to practice for this now. Gonna have to start practicing. I watched some of your games, it was exciting. Ooh, nice, nice. It's been a long time since we haven't casted Paddy Mac at all this year, unfortunately. It's been a while, it's been a while. Meanwhile, things are slowly popping off. TriGGeR expanding, taking a 4th base here. And Dolan's still stuck on 2. Struggling to resaturate his 3rd base. I mean, at least he does have Ghost now. He has a decent Viking count. Does get scouted. Again, I'm kind of concerned about TriGGeR committing to these Colossus again. I would kind of like him to switch into Disruptors because he does see the Viking count, but to each his own. Does stick with the Colossus. TriGGeR is just focusing down these rocks, going for the 2nd wave. TriGGeR, he does still have his Phoenixes. He does still have his Phoenixes from the beginning of the game. He can still dive in and just CC, lift up every single one of these tanks. Only 3 tanks left, one of them not even sieged. And here comes TriGGeR. TriGGeR dives in, here come the Phoenixes. They immediately pick up every single tank. Ay, ay, ay. Papi, focus down the Phoenixes. And they are focused down, but it's a little bit too little, too late. Every single tank goes down. Oh my god. But is there enough here? Another massive warp in of Zealots does come in from the backline for TriGGeR. And oh god, he's barely trying to keep this tank alive. Dolan is it enough? It looks like it just barely is. Dolan survives, but is he living? Because he just lost 19 SCVs. Oh boy. Ay, ay, ay. And TriGGeR, you know, he's like, you know what? Maybe I should try and go for another angle. And he's not wrong, you know, like stop trying to break down the wall with your face at the 3rd and maybe try to rotate around and hit the natural. Speaking of Dolan, 4th CC already done, gonna be morphed into an orbital soon. Or landed on location, turned into a planetary. Meanwhile, Disruptors are finally out. Ooh, doesn't land, only gets 2 SCVs. Colossus are slowly chipping away at the army. Ooh, decent EMP. Does land on half the Zealots. There's still 1 tank behind this army, and oh my god, the economy of TriGGeR is just going insane. TriGGeR expanding, taking a 5th base, while his opponent is still struggling to stay on 3 bases. Oh my god, the bunker goes down, and now there is far too much here. The tanks immediately get focused down. Disruptor does connect with them. Sure, there are a couple of Vikings here, but what matters is the ground army as the Zealots get on top of the Buyer. They are forced back, but the 3rd base will go down once again. God, Dolan, he just can't get another base up. He's trying to get another base. He's trying to take a 3rd, but TriGGeR's just not letting him. Oh my god. Here comes TriGGeR. Ooh, Disrupt shot goes off. Does land with the Marauders. 2 more shots go off. Nice focus fire by Dolan. He's able to focus down every single one of these Disruptors. But I mean, the Stalkers, the Colossus, they're still just going ham here. There's just too many gateway units. Forced to land the Vikings. Too little, too late. GG gets called. And TriGGeR takes game number 2. Wow. GG, well played. And yo, these guys, they just want to go immediately. They have the lobby ready for game 3. Terran has mules. They don't need SCVs. I guess you're not wrong. You're not right either, though. SCVs are still good. Still good. I mean, maybe you don't need SCVs, but what you do need are CCs. You do need bases. You do need orbitals. And that's something that Dolan was lacking there. They just kept going down. As we are getting ready for game number 3. Potentially the final game of the series. TriGGeR, he's up 2-0. Only needs one more to advance on and qualify for the main event. Meanwhile, Dolan, he needs to make some magic happen. He needs to reverse sweep. Can he do it? The reverse all kill. Is it possible? Maybe. But spawning in the top left-hand corner of Lightshade LE, we have the Canadian Protoss player. He is yellow, representing Team Alpha X. It is TriGGeR. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Lightshade LE, we have the American Terran player representing himself. Currently down 0-2 in this best of 5. May give him your energy. It is Dolan. Oh my. Dolan. Trying to get into TriGGeR's head a little bit here. Going for an in-base Rax. This does mean if TriGGeR scouts with his probe and he just goes up the ramp and doesn't go into the base and turns around, he's gonna think he's being proxied. Now, will TriGGeR flinch or will he call Dolan's bluff? As he goes up the ramp, sees no Rax, goes in anyway. Scouts the main. Ooh, sees 2 gases and backs off. He does not check the rest of the main base. For all he knows, there is a proxy out there, and this probe is on the hunt. Yep, he is scouting all over the place. Oh boy. And we will see how TriGGeR reacts right now. Yep, he's just continuing to look around the map. Meanwhile, Dolan as well active with this SCV. Just making sure he himself isn't getting proxied. And the factory is, again, in the main. Again, everything is pretty normal here for Dolan. I mean, once the Reaper shows up, TriGGeR should know. Yeah, I mean, TriGGeR knows. It's like, everything is fine. Everything is fine. And TriGGeR is going for that Stargate. Let's go. Dolan, again, just making sure that he wasn't getting proxied as a response. So just checks the outside edges of his base just to make sure. But we see there's nothing there, and TriGGeR is going for the Stargate opening. I imagine for Phoenixes once again, but I would be pleasantly surprised if he goes for Oracles instead. Time to unfollow. Oh, Reaper does get picked off by the Adept. Nicely done there by TriGGeR. Keeping his Adept in the tall grass in the shrubbery. And TriGGeR will be able to see anything. He does not see the CC. He does not see any other production. Very well positioned there by Dolan, keeping TriGGeR in the dark. Oh, I spoke too soon. TriGGeR sees the starport. I like how Dolan's trying to hide it. Alright, there we go. Goes for the switch. Cyclone does come out. He's going to clean up this Adept. What I find interesting is that TriGGeR went for a Void Ray, not a Phoenix. He's going double Void. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, going for something completely different this game. Meanwhile, Dolan did go for a 1-1-1. He is going for that Banshee. Immediately stunning Cloak. I imagine going to be going for 2 Banshees. Maybe he'll bank them up at home and then move out with them. What is scary about him going for Banshees is the fact that his opponent already has Void Rays. Ooh, does throw down a scan. Does see Void Ray being produced. As well as the additional gateways. And we'll see what the response is going to be here for Dolan. I do like this. Dolan, he's being a little bit active with this Cyclone. You know, just kind of checking, trying to catch whatever he can. But there was nothing there. And we'll see what TriGGeR's plan is, because he's not stopping, by the way. 3 Void Rays. There's a lot of potential with 3 Void Rays. 3 Void Rays, as a Zerg player, I know. 3 Void Rays is 4 Void Rays. He's just not stopping. I just don't see a lot of Protoss players do this. Okay, let's go. Robo's on the way as well. Again, no Twilight Council, no Blink, no Charge, no nothing. Just straight up Void Rays. I mean, Void Rays are pretty good. I can attest to that. Are they that good though? Because here come the double Banshees. They do have Cloak. They are going across the map, looking to take down, looking to one-shot these probes. Ooh, even going for a Raven. Meanwhile, do we have detection? We have an observer coming out here for TriGGeR. TriGGeR did not scout the main base. This is not 100% certain of the opening, but the 4 Void Rays are headed towards the 3rd base to protect it. And here come the Banshees. The Void Rays in between the bases, making sure they can defend against any kind of ground push. We see it's not a ground push, it is a sky push. As the Banshees slip into the natural base, how many workers are they going to get? 1, 2, 3. Oh my god. They just keep on going. The Void Rays finally react, but where is the detection? Is my question, because right now he has none. The observer's across the map. We need another observer. Oh, actually, never mind. The observer is here in the main base. The Banshees will be picked up, but not before 12 probes go down. Aye, 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 that's a lot of probes. And not just probes, not just probe kills, but Dolan also scouts the army. He sees a Robotics Bay, he sees, I don't believe he saw that it was researching, but he can assume the Colossus are going to be coming out. He saw all the Void Rays as well. Dolan got a lot there with those Banshees. And what does he do with that information? Again, he should know that Colossus are on the way, so we should see some Viking production. You could also make an argument, hey, you don't need Viking production. We have Ravens. Like, we can just interference matrix whatever my opponent has. All these Robos. All these Colossus. Which is a tall ask for 1 Raven. I will say, maybe a 2nd Raven is in order, but you know what? Dolan, he's just going for it. He's just sending it across the map. God, I'm freezing, by the way. Alright, here we go. The Void Rays are coming out here. Oh, I don't know if this is the best move. He does try and focus on one of the tanks, but one of his Void Rays does get locked on by the Cyclone. Oh my god, double scan? Was it worth it? No, it was not. 2 scans, doesn't even get a Void Ray. Ay, ay, ay. Oh boy, oh boy. A lot of wasted resources there by Dolan. And TriGGeR, mate, he's just satisfied on 3 bases. I was really curious as to what he would accomplish with these Void Rays, and for the most part, it seems like it was just a defensive move. Like, he was finally now moving out across the map with them, but he was just kind of chilling at home for the most part. Very interesting use of the Void Ray. Meanwhile, mate, we got Chargeless on the way. We got +1 on the way as well. Chargel Archon going to be the unit composition of choice here for TriGGeR. And sure, there's a Ghost Academy on the way. There are going to be ghosts on the way, but TriGGeR is not going to be active. Okay, I was about to say, he just doesn't really have a buffer here. Again, another passive opener at the moment, where neither player has really gone for each other. Neither player really going for any kind of aggression here, just securing their bases. And here we go. Vikings are being produced by Dolan. Scans the third, doesn't see the army, which can be concerning. He has no idea about the fourth. Okay, and now he finally sees. Oh boy, here we go. The Colossus, the Charge Lots, the Archons are moving out. Raven, a little bit exposed. Ooh, does get feedbacked. Is able to land a Matrix though. Sorry, Matrix? What? An anti-armor missile. But TriGGeR just has to wait it out. There was a lot of potential with that Raven, to be honest, and for it to go down like that feels bad, man. This is a nice defensive position for Dolan. His tanks are already pre-sieged, spread nicely. Plenty of Vikings in the backline ready to dive on top of these Colossus. Not that many Stalkers here to really fend off those Vikings. And now here we go. Plenty of Charge Lots, plenty of Archons. He dives on top of the tanks. Immediately every single tank falls. EMPs do land. And yo, every single Archon will fall to the bio. The Vikings going ham on these Colossus. Dolan, he's holding. He holds beautifully here. Completely deals with the entire army. TriGGeR had a very good start, focusing down those tanks. But man, those EMPs were just beautiful. TriGGeR was relying a lot on those Archons. He had, let's have a look here, 5 Archons with his army. Every single one of those Archons got EMP'd. And as soon as that happened, they just evaporated. And then it was just Charge Lots and Colossus. That's barely anything, man. Ay, ay, ay. And now TriGGeR, he's down in supply. He's down in supply. And he's down supply. He has a good economy, you know, he has 4 bases, right? It's not fully saturated though, so he's still struggling a little bit there. Here comes Dolan's army. Oh boy, nothing but gateway units and 1 Colossus. And this 1 Colossus, it's just gone, mate. The Vikings, they land. There's far too much Terran here. Overcharge is being used. The boys are being pulled, but oh my god, it's a desperation move for TriGGeR here. And TriGGeR does not have enough. Dolan is looking to finally put a point on the board. GG gets called. And is this the beginning of a comeback? Can Dolan bring it back? Can he bring it all the way to the ace match? We've seen it before. I saw it last night. I saw it yesterday. So by dismay. We'll see. Dolan definitely has it in him. TriGGeR, you could definitely argue that, to be fair, I don't think TriGGeR saw the ghosts, but he took a look at the army and he's the one who engaged. He's the one who kind of put himself behind a little bit there by forcing himself in and just not having a good fight. So it is on, that fight was on TriGGeR, you know, he was the initiator and unfortunately he misjudged what Dolan had. And we are diving into game number 4. Gonna be on Blackburn. And here we go, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Blackburn LE. We have the Canadian Protoss representing Alpha X. Oh god, he's been looking so good today. Was looking so good in that series, but slips up a little bit. Ooh. Can he remain cool, calm, and collected? Can he bring it back? Can he win this game and qualify for DreamHack main event? It is TriGGeR. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have the American Terran. It was looking very dicey for him earlier today. It was looking like he may get 3-0'd, but no, he brings it back. And can he keep it up? It is Dolan. Mein Gott. What's the plan here, people? TriGGeR going for a probe scout. Dolan not hiding anything here. putting his racks on his sleeve, showing it off, proud. And the Pro Bulls got this, so yeah, Dolan, nothing crazy going on here. But crazy things could happen. This is a very interesting map, you know, this is a map where we have some gold bases that can be taken. Dolan can utilize this to his advantage to go for some strong bio pushes. We do have a pseudo island base in between the bases. More importantly, we have a very short rush distance by air, so drops can hit pretty quickly on these kinds of maps. Same with Banshee Harass. There are slow zones. The slow zones don't necessarily make it longer to just go from base to base, but they do mean when it comes to retreating or pushing in, you can get extra shots off with as a defender. So say if say a Widowmine drop comes in and then the medevac tries to escape, then there is a higher chance that the Widowmine gets picked off by these stalkers, depending on the pathing, depending on how the Widowmine tries to move out. So you have to be careful. You have to keep these slow zones in mind. There's also this low ground Reaper Cliff. It is large enough for tanks to siege up there and also cover any kind of drop in the main. You see it a lot more in TVZ. I guess it could happen in TVP, but we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot going on Blackburn. Meanwhile, TriGGeR does go across the map with his adepts. It's gonna run into some Marines. Gonna be pushed away. Gonna be pushed away. Gonna be pushed away. Okay, it does get pushed away. Probe does go down. The shade does slip in. The wall is a wall. But TriGGeR confirms, hey, you're expanding. Nice. Speaking of things being nice, ooh, okay, so TriGGeR's being a little bit aggressive here. What's important is behind this, ooh, as Dolan does try to focus down that adept. Dolan is going for a 3 racks. Ooh, and he does get the adepts. Stalker trying to trade as best as he can. He does get one of the Marines, but as we can see, it is quite well hidden. We do have 1 racks behind the mineral line. We have 1 racks in between the bases and our factory. So Dolan looking to be very aggressive this game with this 3 racks. TriGGeR has to scout this. He has to try and figure out what is going on. Otherwise, Dolan could take this to the ace match. Meanwhile, TriGGeR trading very well here with... Oh god! I spoke too soon! Nice focus fire by Dolan. He does take out a stalker. TriGGeR was being a little bit cheeky there, but he was punished for it. And now the Cyclone comes out, and the Cyclone is going to be able to clean up whatever is left here. Ooh, as they kind of miss each other. A little bit. Cyclone? Is he going to catch him? Yo, is he going to catch him on the retreat? The Stalker, it just wants to get home. It just wants to get home, and it does get caught by the Cyclone. Never mind. 1 shot away. The Stalker does barely manage to escape, and TriGGeR is going for his 3rd. But this is still what is concerning, because we have that hidden racks behind the mineral line. Concussive shell? What? Combat shields is on the way. That's going to be amazing. I'm sure he's going to want to get Stim straight after that. And again, TriGGeR still needs to get some eyes on this. He did not go for a sentry. He's not going for any hallucinated scouts. He should have a robo. There it is. He does have a robo in his main, in his natural. Does have an immortal on the way. Interesting. A little bit supply blocked. Ooh, and the observer does see the army move out. TriGGeR knows it's on the way. Can he defend? He needs some shield batteries, mate. He's throwing down shield batteries at his 3rd base. I don't know if that's the best position. You need them at your natural. He does meet the army. Gonna forge or try to forge the tanks to siege. Slowly chipping away at the Marines. Does get some of them. Oh god, but the army's already here. And the tanks have not sieged, and the boys have been pulled. God, the Immortal does barely come out in time. The Immortal's trying to focus down the tank, and it looks like it will just barely not get the tank. Never mind. The Stalkers do finish them off. Both tanks do fall. And now there are only Marines and 1 Cyclone left. And with that, with the death of those tanks, it looks like TriGGeR will be able to hold. God, but Dolan, he's trying. Like, Dolan pulled SCVs. He needs to make this work. It's just not looking like he can. Just look at the micro, the blink on these stalkers, the shield batteries at the third, keeping everything alive. Finally, one more tank shows up, which is important, sure, but so many Marines have fallen here. The buffer from those SCVs are gone. The Cyclone does manage to stay alive. The tank is here, but Dolan turns around. Ay, ay, ay. Dolan down 20 workers. Almost 20 workers, I should say. Okay. He pulls around just to pull more boys. Makes sense. Oh, but it gets spotted. We'll see. Here comes the second wave for Dolan. Did TriGGeR let up? Was he a little bit too greedy? No, he was not, as another tank falls. Only one tank left. We've been here before, Papi. Oh, God. Overcharge used prematurely. Small win there for Dolan. My God, but again, only one tank. This push, it's not working out. Zelta being morphed in. Charge is about to finish up in a couple seconds, and when it does, then he can just dive on top of the tank. There it is. Charge is done. Immortal about to pop out. There we go. He blinks immediately on top of the tank. The tank does barely get saved by the medevac. Nice macro there by Dolan. Oh my God, saves both tanks. But hey, just to what end? The medevac does get picked off. The tanks get picked off. Everything gets cleaned up. We were worried for TriGGeR, but we shouldn't have been. His defense was solid. GG gets called. Congratulations. TriGGeR qualifies for the DreamHack NA main event. GG. Congratulations, TriGGeR. I need some replays. GG. Well played, TriGGeR. I'm sure he would have loved to have qualified in the upper brackets, and he had a very close series with Jon Snow, but Jon Snow just barely came out on top, and now TriGGeR was forced down to the losers bracket. I was worried for him, not gonna lie, but TriGGeR did just barely come out on top. Dolan had some nice moves. He had some nice all-ins, but at the end of the day, TriGGeR's defenses were just too on point. Dolan was able to make a series out of it. He didn't go down 3-0. He was able to prove himself, but in the end, he was not able to take down the young Canadian Protoss. And TriGGeR will move on. Congratulations, TriGGeR. As I have the graphic. It isn't completely updated, unfortunately, but of course, TriGGeR will join the likes of, as we look over on the far left, we have players like Estrella, Future, Masa, M. Canning, Namshar, Neeb, Nina, and Scarlet. They are the players that were invited straight to the main event. They didn't have to play in the open qualifier. They didn't have to play in the closed qualifier. And these 8 players will be joined by the players who qualified today. Those players being Pure Legacy, Jon Snow, Disc, Vindicta, TriGGeR, Paddy Mac, and 2 others. Those 2 others are players that we don't know yet. Pili versus BioWise is still mid-series, and Epic versus Semper is still mid-series, but again, some very big names there in the main event. Obviously the names that everyone thinks about when they think about the NA scene. Of course, there are a couple players there that are missing, but they will be joining them, like Vindicta, like TriGGeR. And GG, well played. Again, congratulations to the players who have qualified. I believe that will be it for us for today, just because we do still have 2 series ongoing, but they are already being casted, and it's possible that the current games that they are in will be the final games of their series. Pili just needs 1 more game to advance, and Epic just needs 1 more game to advance. And it could be the games that they're in. So we probably won't stick around to try and jump in mid-series, just because it's possible that we're going to stick around for nothing, because the series may just end. So thank you everyone so much for joining us today. Shout out to the players as well, Jon Snow, TriGGeR, as well as Skylar. You know, they showed some good games, and Dolan as well, of course. How could we forget? They all played very well, and my condolences to the players who have been knocked out of the tournament. They will have another chance. They will have another chance next season. And these seasons aren't too far apart. DreamHack Fall will be in around 2 months. So you have 2 months to prepare, to refine, to improve, and come back even stronger. I say that because I know there are some players who it's like, oh, 2 months. I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna play some Titanfall 2 or Age of Empires 2 or some Tarkov. Really, I'm calling out Seether in the Oceanic scene. But there are players who, you know, after an event like this, they kind of like, oh god, they lose a lot of motivation. But hopefully these guys don't. You know, again, they played very well enough to make it to the closed qualifier, well enough to make some money off of DreamHack. And I know with just a little bit more practice, they can go even further. But yeah, it was great to catch this NA StarCraft. Of course, we will raid one of the other streamers before we go offline. As I quickly check who else. Most likely Renegade, as Renegade is currently casting Pili Pili versus BioIce, so we will give him some love. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining me. Fernando in the chat, Maximo, Pedro Agronomia, Luis Henrik, thank you everyone so much for dropping by for sure. Shout out to the players as well. Paddy Mac dropped by, Skylar dropped by. I'm sure TriGGeR's there as well. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining me. For those wondering, our next broadcast, as I quickly refresh, our next broadcast will be in 2 hours. So in 2 hours, we will be back with ESL Open Cup Asia. I'll be casting that alongside Yakuzaku. So if you enjoyed this NA StarCraft, and if you want some Korean StarCraft, then you can tune in there. Typically, ESL Open Cup Asia is dominated by the Korean Protosses like Trap, Parting, and Zest, and Stats as well. But in more recent time, we've seen a little bit less of that, and we've seen more Terran and Zerg players really rise to the challenge. Cure has been able to win a couple of weeklies, Solar has been able to, Armani and Ragnarok have been showing up well. So yeah, things have been kind of shifting when it comes to the dominant players in ESL Open Cup Asia. Dongray Gu as well, Dark. So yeah, if you want some Korean StarCraft, then stick around. In 2 hours, we will be back. Of course, take these 2 hours to get some food, get some rest, finish up on any assignments that you're working on for sure. And we will see you then. And with that, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you so much. Thankfully, this wasn't an incredibly long broadcast, only 3 hours. My throat, thanks thanks to these players for not going on for too long. And yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you enjoyed our broadcast, and if you want to tune into more of our casts and more of the tournaments that we do cover, then make sure you follow the Twitch channel. We are live every single day of the week with some StarCraft. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well, as we are all over the social medias. We post whenever we go live. And yeah, we'll be live every single day of this week, covering as much DreamHack as possible. Today, we have 4 broadcasts. We just finished up the NA Closed Qualifier. Next up, we have ESL Open Cup Asia. After that, we have the Oceania Closed Qualifier. And then after that, we have the China Closed Qualifier. So 4 tournaments today. We'll be covering every single one. So yeah, give us some support if you wish by following the channel. And with that, thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you in 2 hours. Ciao.